It's good to be with you. Welcome to Class Outside. Today, we're going to learn how to lay out the vertices of any mesh into squares. A mesh with a predictable vertex structure like quads or tris can be useful for many things. It can be easier to weight paint and rig for animated models. A layout like this may also make it easier to mark seams when unwrapping UVs. We're going to need a 3D model, 3D modeling software, and a tool to convert our mesh into quads. For 3D modeling software, I will be using Blender. For a 3D model, I will be using this tasty looking piece of fruitcake from Mato Use K Photo on Sketchfab. The tool I will be using to convert the mesh into squares is called Instant Meshes by W. Jacob. This code is open source and can be found on GitHub, linked in the description. To download Instant Meshes, just go to the link and scroll down to the pre-compiled binaries section. This means the code is pretty much ready to run when we download it. Click the link for your operating system. I'm using Windows. Then open the folder with the download. Right-click and extract it. It doesn't matter where you choose to put it. I will just extract it to downloads for now. We can move it later. First things first, let's download our mesh. Then open a new scene in Blender. Import the mesh. This cake's a bit small, so I'm going to use the S key to enlarge it. Now, make sure there's no armature attached to the mesh. I linked another video how to remove or disconnect the armature down in the video description. We also want to make sure our mesh doesn't have any overlapping vertices. This can usually be solved by selecting your mesh, going into edit mode, clicking mesh, cleanup, merge by distance, and increasing the value once. Let's check our current vertex count. Right-click the bottom bar, click Scene Statistics. Make sure only our mesh is selected. Our vertices should show. Export your mesh as a .obj file. Instant Meshes only works with .obj and .ply files. Open that Instant Meshes folder we extracted and run the program inside. Click Open Mesh, then click the folder, and let's navigate to where we exported our mesh. Let's import it. That's our mesh. Instant Meshes seems to rotate the mesh in a way that I didn't expect. We should be able to work with that. We can leave most of the settings the same. Let's set our target vertex count. We could try leaving it at the default or at a low value. I'm going to bring it up closer to the count we saw in Blender. We can always reduce this count later. Increasing the target vertex count may prompt a pop-up talking about not enough detail. It should be fine to hit yes, and it will update our mesh to the new target vertex count. Click Solve under Orientation field, then click Solve under Position field. Before exporting, take a quick look at the value next to Singularities. It can be difficult to get perfect structures of all squares. If you look around, you'll see V shapes, like forks in the road. These are called kites. Each singularity represents a kite somewhere on your mesh. To move a kite, select the magnet. Now you can see the little Pac-Man symbols all around. You can click them and drag a line from them. If the kite believes it can move to that location, it will. This process can be a bit finicky though. Kites are usually okay where they are. However, if the kite is somewhere you do not like it, you can move them. This movement can affect whether or not the final mesh has holes, so I tend to leave them alone when I can. Click Export Mesh and Extract Mesh. Before clicking Save, let's inspect and make sure that we got what we want. See, quite a lot of quads. Some meshes, like this wood log from Peter Laban on Sketchfab, have many more obvious holes when extracted. If your mesh has holes like this too, it's often because either the armature wasn't properly removed or the cleanup and merge vertices step didn't occur for all vertices. Now, click Save and give your quad mesh a name. Make sure to end the name with .obj or else it might not save. Let's open our mesh back up in Blender and compare the layout to our original. I selected both meshes with Shift and opened in edit mode. We can see our quad mesh is a lot more evenly laid out, while our former mesh is a bit less organized. If you want the square look, covering the mesh to change, an option you could take is to open edit mode, press A to select all, click on face and shade smooth. Changing the layout of our mesh also changed the vertex count and something called the UVs, which affects the textures on the object. These things tend to be normal when changing the layout or topology of the mesh. These can be fixed. I've linked 2 videos down in the description how to reduce the vertex count while still maintaining a mostly quad mesh, and also how to bake the textures or copy them from the former mesh onto the new one. Look at that! Together we have converted our mesh into a quad topology. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought of this video. Have a great day and thanks for attending class outside.